just more money that I don't want to think about, right?
Oh, you don't want to know what we used to do with some of our cards. Like we used to play this game at school where you would flick the card and you'd have to flick it against the wall. But so we'll pay for like pink slips, more or less. So you could flick the card and get as close to the wall as possible. And the one that was closest got to keep the other person's card. So you'd
More
literally
money
put
that I
your
don't want to
card
think
up for
about,
bets. But the thing is, sometimes you'd flick
You
it
don't
too
want to
hard
know
and it
what
would
we
just
used to
smack
do with
off the
some of our
wall, and
cards.
then
Like
you'd
we used
end
to
up
play this
denting
game
your
at school
card.
where
And
you
I can't
flick
tell
the
you
card and you'd have to
how
flick it
many cards
against
we
the
lost.
wall.
Like
So
actually
we'll pay for
really
like a
good
pink
cards
slip
playing this
or
game, and it's just like, what were we doing?
right?
Yeah,
Right. That's awesome. I mean, and just looking back on it, it's like, man, that sucks. That hurts.
yeah,
You know, it's
yeah.
like buying Bitcoin and losing your seed phrase almost. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't want to tell you how many people I know that have done that, or were a part of the big Mount Gox
wow.
tragedy. I had a mate with over 1,000 Bitcoin in Mount Gox, so that's cry about.
Uh,
Going back to some of the cartoons you were talking about, which I love, Rocco's Modern Life, Recess, all those old 90s
Pepper Ann.
cartoons. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I actually never got into anime or manga or comics in general. Not really until 2020, when I got a chance to watch some of the good animes on Netflix, like Avatar and a few others, Princess Mononoke. So can you tell the listeners why manga and anime has remained so popular in your opinion?
it's the way it's a Japanese phenomenon, right? Like I think mainly the cultural aspect, and I think it's a way of an insight to look into a different culture, especially Japanese culture has taken the world by storm. Like if you look at it now, a lot of our conventions are based around Japanese culture now. So people dressing up in cosplay and dressing up as their favorite characters. Like I felt like that was something that was not really pushed in the US in the 1990s. But if you look at Japanese culture, they've been doing that since, the 90s. And it's interesting to watch that phenomena transfer over into Western culture, where we started hosting our own massive Comic Con conventions and things like that. And it used to be centered around like, your Marvel characters and your US based like comic books. But then the Japanese anime just started flowing in. And I think there was a real cultural shift when a few pinnacle animes came out in the US, which absolutely just blew everyone's mind away. And I think Dragon Ball Z was probably the start of that real Western, like, hey, this is a whole genre, and it's come from Japan, and this is the way that animation and comic books and manga and stories are told in Japan. I think people were really surprised. I think it was more tailored towards the teenager adult that could really get into the actual story itself. And I think one of the things that the Japanese do really amazing is telling stories of adversity and struggling, coming from like the lowest point like of life. Like they're sort of like they're no ones in society. And I think people really like a story of watching someone go from being nothing to growing into something, and actually instilling the confidence inside themselves. And because for me, you reflect a lot of yourself in those stories, and
Yeah.
you think, hey, like I can do this. I can be something. Push myself to go even further. Like, that's how I'm here now, because I've been able to push myself over limits, and like for me, that's something that has been instilled through that culture of anime and
Yeah.
Japanese animation. It's like there's always a beautiful story to tell, and it's just got every genre you can think about. If you're looking for a
Yep.
love story, if you're looking for action-packed violence, horror, it's all there, and their storytelling is just amazing. So yeah,
That's
absolutely.
so funny because you pretty much answered the second part of that question right there. Like what attracts people to that type of storytelling. So you completely covered that.
Awesome.
And And Alex, like in your bio, on your website, which we'll give a plug for that at the end, guys. So like, stay tuned. We're gonna let you have the floor here in a little while, but like, it talks about how how you've been watching anime since you were born, right? Like, you remember renting at the video store Ghost in the Stall or Ghost in the Shell and Akira and all from the video store and bringing it home watching, not even understanding what you were watching, right? Um,
Yep.
where did you first discover anime?
It literally
Or
was
manga?
at the video shop, and it was, and back then it probably took years to even realize that what I was even watching was Japanese. Like, it was the way it was presented, it was just like this cartoon. I still remember because we used to have like rating, like your like M rating, like
Yeah,
M15 plus,
yeah,
and your R18s and things like that. So, being someone that used to love watching cartoons, everything was G rated and PG rated, so it was never really adult content. And I remember going to the video shop and seeing this, like, I'm like, oh wow, this is a cartoon. It's like, oh, it's rated M, and I'm like, like, what is an M-rated cartoon ever meant to look like? And I remember that my brother and his mate ended up renting the Akira, and that was the very, very first one that I ended up watching. And then the moment I watched that, it just, I had no idea what was going on. Absolutely none. I was just like, what is this? But I just knew that it was cool. Like, there was like violence, and then like it was like everything that a little kid just wanted to watch in cartoons. It was like, wow. So yeah, I probably didn't actually understand that until like my later teens, like early 20s, when I actually went back to, and you know what? Even still to this day, there are parts of Akira I don't understand. You're just like, what's going on in
yeah.
here?
Right. I just watched it for the first time at Ninja. Shout out Ninja in the news community. Shouted them out
Yeah.
last week too. But he gave me a list of shows, and I was number one. Like, you start here, no matter what. And yeah, it was like half of it's like, what is even happening? And the other half is like, this is amazing.
It's
So
like the way I explain it, it's like watching Matrix for the very first time. You remember when you're just trying to wrap your head around what is going on in this movie? Like, I just don't get it. And it wasn't until like, 10 times you watched The Matrix, you just knew it was an amazing movie. But you
yeah,
watch it and you start getting your head wrapped around the whole concept. Like, and I think
yeah,
a lot of people weren't exposed to a lot of, unless you were in university studying philosophy and sort of pushing that type of thinking. A lot of people weren't exposed to that type of thoughts, and like it's sort of just branched open like this whole genre. Like Blade Runner was another one of those movies that sort of pushed the genre, and Terminator 2 as well. So, and that's, and also anime has played such an important part as also pushing that type of genre too.
yeah. So how did it? So you found it at the video store. I mean, that's literally the answer, right? How did it
Absolutely.
grow in your life? I mean, you mentioned the M rating, you know what I mean? And like, what does that even mean? But like, obviously, it's made quite an impact in your life. I mean, we're
Yeah,
here to talk about a manga NFT project that you're the creative director on, right? But how did it grow in your life? Like, how did it take shape? Like, 'cause obviously it made an impact, but like, I watched a movie that a different genre. I don't go and start an NFT project with it. Um,
it's actually really interesting. That really, if you look at Akira, the whole setting of it is in like a Neo Tokyo style Japan setting, right? The whole world is centered around there. And this was probably actually the very first look into Asia and Asian cities, right? We didn't have Google or the internet back then. It was like you would look up things in an encyclopedia, you'd have them all, and you'd,
right.
look to a page and there might be one or two pictures of Asia in there. And the only thing that you would have is just to read text about Japan or China. And being like young at that time, you sort of just think China, Japan, Thailand, all these places are the same place. Like, they're all just like
Yeah, yeah,
Asia, one big giant thing. Like, this is an 8-year-old version of me trying to understand, like, Asia, and it's like, oh, it's like one massive city, like Neo Tokyo style city, like Akira. And then obviously as you start learning and you go on in school and you start to learn, geography and all that type of stuff, you realize that, oh, okay, so there's like lots of, different places within Asia and things like that. So the cities was really what captivated me, because I just loved the style of all these neon lights and all these little shops that were like all just congregated together. It was like, they were smashed into one, like, and, growing up in Australia, especially, like, our cities are very spread. Like, we'll have different areas and different suburbs. We've got a main city, which is like a grid city, but it's very small in comparison when comparing to other cities around the world. It's starting to grow a lot, obviously, since back in the 90s. But for me, I was always attracted to like the actual setting, the ambience of Asian cities, whether it be Japan, China, Thailand, and things like that. And I still remember it was probably at the age of 16 when I actually got to travel to China, and it was something that I did with a friend of mine, and that was one of the most amazing experiences that I ever had. It was such an eye opener, and I still remember going there. One of the main reasons that I wanted to go there was A, to experience the culture, but B, to actually see like an Asian city. Like Hong Kong
Yeah.
was the very first one that I saw, and it was like absolutely amazing. It was like, oh
Yeah.
wow. And you know what? Going to Hong Kong as being the first city was exactly like as I pictured it, like Akira style. Like it was like,
Okay.
if you watch Akira and you go to Hong Kong, there are so many similarities between the two. And it was just like it just made me fall in love with the culture and with anime in general. Like that's like it just pushed me in that direction, just wanting to
Yeah.
keep asking questions. And there is a lot of other anime shows that came after the Akira genre. I started inquiring more, there was more videos. So I moved on to Ninja Scroll, when I was old enough to be able to get that. And there's a few. There was a store that we used to have in the city that I could rent anime VHS cassette tapes from. It was amazing. Like that opened me up to
Cool.
a whole new catalog
So
of anime.
it was a bit progressive. Like you kept going down before you know it, you're visiting Asia to understand. You know what I mean? You're going and visiting all these places, and it just keeps growing, 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 and actually getting it on VHS. That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up. I was born late '80s, so I grew up in the '90s, and yeah, total '90s kid too. But yeah, that's cool, man. Anime and manga is so new to me, and it's not. I mean, it's just so interesting because like it's this whole new. It's a different culture telling a story, right? Like I grew up hearing my culture's versions of telling stories, and so like the story progression and the characters and how they pivot the timeline, like it's all the same but different, and I just think it's so fascinating. And I didn't even consider like now, because now that we have the internet the way that it is, I wasn't. What I think is interesting about how it kind of grew in your life was like you didn't have something to go to compare it to, and so like that I totally like didn't even occur to me as I was being introduced to these things. Like that yeah, in the '90s you wouldn't have known. Okay, is this you know what I mean? Like I just think that's super interesting. But
it's actually funny. I thought it was Western. Like there was a long period of time where I thought like this is created in America. Like Akira was American, and it
right.
took me a long time to realize like, oh wow, actually this is Japanese, because no one was writing catalogs. There was no magazines saying, hey, look at the anime monthly subscription magazine. There was nothing. Like, mind you, no internet, no nothing. The only thing is that you just sit down, watch this movie, it's in English, and you just think it's an English movie animated in America. And that was everything I ever watched. Like this European content that I probably just thought was like, oh, that's made in America. Like, America makes everything. And you sort of start to get to a point where you're like, actually no, because Australia being quite diverse, and we've got a lot of Asian culture within Australia. You start to meet and talk to people, especially at school, and then they start to tell you, oh no, that's Japanese, or that's from Hong Kong, or that's from China, and then you start to piece it all together, and then and then it just took off. Late 90s was like is when anime just really went nuts.
Morgan, I think you
Yes.
mentioned you had a question.
Yes. So I'm gonna actually pivot real quick. We are doing 2 giveaways for the Misfit NFTs today. One from Neal and one from Alex. So definitely send them thanks for that. But we're going to be doing that live here in the YouTube chat. We've had a little bit of technical difficulties, so we do have a small group, which means a really high chance of winning, guys. We're going to be doing that in the chat. So for the first giveaway, you'll just enter enhanced media. We're going to give it a few minutes before we do pick a winner. So again, that's hashtag enhanced media for the first giveaway in the live YouTube chat.
Morgan.
The first one was MisFits NFTs.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
My bad.
That's okay. Yeah.
MisFits NFTs. I'm sorry, guys. Hashtag MisFits
John.
NFTs.
John's killing it in the background. We love John. But yeah, hashtag MisFits NFT. Make sure if you're on Twitter, make sure that people know that this is the moment. Get in here, hashtag MisFits NFT if you want to get a chance on one. I almost think we should though like blacklist Ninja, because Ninja's like got so many misfits. I'm just kidding, buddy. I love you, man.
He would absolutely be laughing right now.
Yeah,
But,
totally.
I mean, he would to blacklist him, Whiskey and King, and I'm sure they're listening right now. So yeah, you guys are blacklisted. That's everyone can.
And again, we're gonna give that one a couple minutes.
Yeah, and just a shout out to Whiskey King and Ninja. They're really strong community members in the Misfits NFT project.
Yeah,
I've been spending a lot of time there myself. So just for those of you who are watching that don't know. But Morgan, back to you.
But yeah, while we wait for everybody to enter the giveaway with hashtag Misfits NFTs, if you want to share a fun little story we've heard a lot about, I still haven't heard it yet, but it is supposedly called the air fryer story.
Oh, the air fryer story. This is actually really funny. I don't even know how this actually started. We're in a Twitter Spaces, and we're just having I don't even know what air fryers. I'm pretty sure someone was talking about air fryers at the time, and so the whole story about the air fryer was my last partner I was with. I've owned air fryers for since the very first air fryer, like the Philips air fryer, and I always advocate for the air fryers. I tell everyone they're the most amazing thing. They're going to change your life. I tell you, and everyone's like, no. They're the worst things. They're crap. Why do I want one of these? And I'm like, wait till you own one. And it was very much the same thing with my partner at the time. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go out. I'm going to buy one. And I was looking at all these different colors, and there was black, and then there was red. And I'm like, oh, red. I'm like, it's fast red. You think Ferrari, you think red, and you're like, yeah, this thing's going to cook fast. So I ended up getting this big, massive red air fryer and got it delivered back to my work. And I remember I was like, I texted her, I'm like, I've got this big surprise for you. And she's like, what is it? I'm all excited. And it's like one of those things, and it was me that was admittedly more excited by this thing. I'm bringing this massive box, and it's this air fryer. And she's like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, it's an air fryer. It's going to change your life. And she's like, you're not keeping that thing on the bench. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I promise you, you'll use it. She goes, you're going to have to put that thing out of sight. Like, it's like, I do not want that anywhere near my bench. And I'm like, all right, all right. And so we'll put it away. And I took it out. And I remember using it once. And she was like, oh, yeah, this is okay. And she's like, get it off the bench. And then eventually, this air fryer used to get put away, and then more and more it got accepted. She would be like, "Oh, why don't you just pop that in the air fryer?" And I'm just like, "Oh, so now you want to use the air fryer?" And every time, like this thing would get packed away, slowly, slowly it would come back out. And then, like there was one time I still remember. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to leave this air fryer on the bench. And do you know what? It started to get accepted now. And it was like, it had its place on the bench. It was there. And then it just ended up staying. And then I still remember there was like one time I came home from work and I'm sitting there and she's chopping up like potatoes and veggies and things like that. And then all of a sudden I hear the ding because it was like this little bell when you opened it up. And I was like, are you using the air fryer? And she's like, no, I'm not. And then all of a sudden, so like the longest time, this air fryer came with us absolutely everywhere. And so we ended up parting ways. And the worst thing is, she kept the bloody air fryer. I didn't even get my air fryer back. This was like this one thing. I was like, and we were telling this story in the spaces, and everyone was having an absolute laugh. And I'm like, you know what? I was really attached to that bloody air fryer, and I'm like, I want it back now. I'm never gonna get it. So I mean, she's got it, using it.
My favorite part of that story, man, is your excitement to get it and to surprise her. like, oh, I got something for you. Just can't wait. I can't wait to show it to you.
I've still got the text messages where I'm like, oh my God, I got the biggest like it. This is, I said to her, this is revolutionary. It is going to change. And the look and the expression on her face when I walked in with this big box and it's like air fryer on it, and she's like, are you serious? Like, is that like, yeah, this is it. This is like, you have no idea. And do you know what? Shout out to the air fryer community. You know exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about these air fryers. Absolutely. You know, it is life changing. It absolutely changes life.
I actually had a bad experience with my air fryer. It stopped working after like the first 4 times.
Oh no, that's time to return that one. Get a new one. I promise you, it'll change lives.
I promise. I've never even owned one. I've never used one. But I just think it's amazing that she took it. Like what? It's like,
yeah, I'm like, oh well, there's situations where we parted ways, and she ended up taking it. I should ask for it back. I really should ask for it back again, but I'm it's gone. It's
that'd
gone.
be legendary.
It was just this amazing red color. It was like, oh, sensational.
Sensational.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
like I don't even want to get a new one and replace it because it was like, oh, that was the one. But yeah,
wow.
and you know what? This is another fun part of just being a part of this community is like it's not just about this project and everything that we're building. It's like actually creating a community where we tell stories and we have a laugh, and that's really important, especially something in like these days and the last 2 years that we've all had during COVID and things like that. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's good to create these communities. We'll get into that a bit later on, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And are we about ready for the first giveaway, guys?
I think so.
Remember, for all the listeners in the chat, it's hashtag MisFits NFTs for this first giveaway. And if you guys have any questions for Alex or about the NFT project or even about him, feel free to leave those in the comments as well.
Yeah. Awesome. This is our first giveaway, Alex, ever. So
yeah.
sorry for that.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be a part of this then. I'm absolutely.
What's up, John? Got an update for us? No? Okay. Um, do we want to give it a few more minutes? Are we giving it away now?
Yeah, no, just give me a couple minutes here to get everything sorted, and I'm just going to officially say that the entry is done.
Awesome. Oh, you got a wheel? Come on. That's amazing. Oh, we get to see a wheel live on video. Sorry. That's great. I love it, John. Well done. And again, guys, for those that don't know, John is our lead over Enhanced Media. He's producing this thing. He's been incredible. He's who's kind of hosting the whole show. And so just want to shout out to Whiskey in the comments. That's funny. Just putting on this whole thing and making it work. And so, yeah, I mean, we're just working on the wheel. The next question for you, though, Alex, is what did you do professionally? Who, like, outside of being a kid, bring us kind of through becoming an adult, getting a job, working.
Yeah. So my background is finance. Getting out of high school, it was pretty much I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, much like anyone else. I fell into insurance, which is one of those things. Like, I don't think anyone actually ever like finishes school and goes, "Hey, I want to go do insurance." I mean, there might be a tiny, minute, select few people that do that, and they're probably crazy. But I started off in insurance, working with an insurer, managing risk portfolios, properties and financial lines, insurance. And I went from underwriting into broking, which is broking is essentially salesman of insurance, but it's about maintaining account relationships and being able to build relationships, manage risks and portfolios for your clients. Yeah. So risk is something that I'm very very proficient in. It's something that when building this project is a lot of those skills utilized and can actually flow over into this actual project itself. I've been in that. I've been doing insurance for over 15 years as a professional. So it's actually really it's something that I've enjoyed, but I'm ready to move on to something else now. And it's sort of how I landed in the crypto space. I've been in crypto space for a very long time. Oh, not long time.
And let's pause there for a second, Alex, because I think we're ready to spin that wheel and find out who the winner is.
We had one last submission that was long after. Sorry, Disc Noob. Unfortunately, the poll already closed, but we do have a second giveaway coming up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Spin that right now.
So let's go ahead and spin it. Yeah.
Spin that wheel.
And the winner is Kurt Kawiti. Kurt, if you could please type in the comments your Twitter handle so that we can get in contact with you. That way you can get that NFT right away or as soon as possible.
Congratulations, Kurt.
Congrats.
Congratulations to the first ever winner of a giveaway on Enhanced Media. That's super fun.
Let's do it.
Let's
Happy
go.
days.
Yeah. Thank you for contributing with me on that. I really appreciate it, Alex.
Absolutely.
So fun fact, I actually just stopped being an insurance agent in the US. I was property, casualty, life and health. And so I was really excited to be done with that myself. Because like you said, not everybody.
You do it for a certain amount of time and it does wear on you. I have had some interesting jobs in between, I should say, though. Like, I have left insurance once before, and I did it to go traveling. And I was working in a retail sports store in Ireland and the UK. But that was perfect. Like, that was like I was hit my 30s, and I'm just like, I was an insurance agent, and I've just gone, I need to go travel the world, and like literally quit my job, bought a backpack, strapped it
Yeah.
on, away I went, and yeah, just
Awesome.
traveled. Did that for a year, which was amazing. So, and I did some really crummy jobs, but it was like that experience, especially later in life, like when you've gone from earning a certain wage to then like literally dropping it more than half, it's like it still didn't deter me from that experience. Like it was just so amazing to be able to experience that. So yeah, I
That's
will
cool.
never take that back and never take that experience back.
That's really cool. And so you did
Yeah.
that after you got out of insurance and did that?
Yeah, I did that, and then I came back and jumped back
Yeah.
into insurance a year later. So after I did that,
You-
after got to a point where I'm like, oh, I can't sleep on people's couches anymore, and it was just doing the whole hostel
All right.
lifestyle. And it was
Time to get back to work, right?
exactly.
That's awesome. That sounds great. You were in Ireland for that, you said?
Yeah, I was in Ireland and London as well. So, and I lived in Thailand for a bit, which was that was amazing. So,
Yeah.
it just did a lot of traveling. It was awesome.
So that's totally random and not on point at all. But like, so in the U.S., people don't just go to Thailand for vacation. But I watch a lot of like British and Australian television, and I've noticed this like that's like where people go is Thailand. Like when they go on
Absolutely.
holiday, they go to Thailand. It's like a normal concept, and it's just super interesting to me because that's not something we have too much in the U.S.
I've met a lot of American travelers, and there's not a lot, especially within Asia. Like a lot of them will be coming over for business or, but actually personal travel. A lot of people don't go because it's so far away. So if you think about it, I've never been to Mexico or
Sure.
like the Caribbean or Hawaii. Like I have been to Hawaii. But I was very, very young. I don't remember it. But it's like I haven't been to these places, but these are places that people in North America frequent all the time. And it's just so easy and accessible to get
Sure,
to.
that makes
So if
sense.
you think about it in that perspective, Bali for me is 5 hours away on a plane. Thailand is 8 hours away. So
Oh
that's
wow.
like yeah, for us, that's the doorstep of our like holiday places and destination. A lot of Brits get out to Asia as well because a lot of them
Yeah,
end up coming to Australia to do like work visas and things like that. So
yeah,
they'll always do Asia and stop off in Asia before they get to Australia. So yeah,
yeah,
it seems it's definitely a holiday destination for anyone that's looking for an experience, and it is an amazing one. Like I can't tell you how amazing Asia is. I lived in Singapore for a year, and I've lived in various parts of Asia, like Thailand, and I've been all around. Hong Kong, Bali. Malaysia as well. It's just like it's just amazing, and the culture and the food. Oh, the food!
yeah,
I just can't begin to describe how good the food is.
yeah. I mean, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
As someone who hasn't gone, my wife has, but just to pivot a little here, when did you find? What was your journey into cryptocurrency? Yeah, how did you find this whole space?
It was actually my ex who actually talked to me, and it wasn't even
Time
crypto,
out,
right?
time out. The X with the air fryer?
Yes. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. I know. But it was she's in technology space, and she was telling me about new technologies and just sort of touched on this thing like blockchain.
Yeah,
We all know what blockchain is, but I had no idea what it was. But I loved the sound of blockchain. Like it was just like, what do you mean? It's like it's something that is just like it's a transaction or it's an immutable record, and that was pretty much. It couldn't even be. She couldn't explain it to me, right? Let alone it just sounded fascinating, like, and it was going to change the world. That was it. That was like the words, and it just
how long
sounded.
ago was
This was 2016, I'd
it? Okay,
say,
yeah,
2015. So I knew cryptocurrency existed, Actually, let's go even further back. 2011, I was working in insurance. I had this guy come up to me, he was a little, he was just really recluse, introverted person, didn't really talk much. And I'm a personality, doesn't matter what type of introverted, anything like that, I will find something to connect with you on and have a conversation with. So I was talking to this guy, and he was learning programming on coding on his own and stuff like that. We'd always have these conversations about tech and all this. And he goes, "Oh man," he goes, "You got to get into this thing." I'm like, "Oh, what is it?" And he's like, "Oh, it's like digital currency. This currency is going to change the world. It's called Bitcoin." And like, you really got to go. I still remember this conversation. Like, you should just put like $100 in there and this is like 2011, mind you. I think Bitcoin would have $3 or something like that.
Yeah, right.
He's like, "Yeah, you." And at this time, it was just like that.
Yeah.
It was like in one ear, out the other, because the only thing I was doing was getting a paycheck to go out drinking on a Friday night. Like, that was like my 20s. I was just like, dude, why am I going to be buying this digital currency? And you know what?
Digital currency? I want a pint, man. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. You know what the funny thing is? Like, if anyone was buying digital currency, most people would have sold it. And like at one point where it got to $100, that's what I always think about, is like, oh my God, just think of how much money you could have. And it's just like, well, actually, you probably would have sold it at $100 anyway, because you wouldn't have believed in it 100% quite there yet. And I think a lot of people.
My buddy did that. He bought a couch. They call it the most expensive couch in history.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, most people would have done that. The only way you would be successful is you had to have lost the seed phrase, is what I say to my mate. You've had to have lost the seed, and you would have had to have rediscovered it 10, 15 years later, like 10 years later. So you would have just had to go, I found it, like, yes. So that's probably the only way.
Yeah, 2011, you have a weird conversation with somebody you're quoting insurance. Fast forward to 2016, your ex-partner was like, blockchain, it's going to change the world. It's cool.
Yep. And then for me, it was like, okay, so let me have a look a little bit more into blockchain technology. And the reason why I actually liked it so much was because it felt like there was an accountability element to it. So, one thing that I found, I have friends in executive positions and levels and in organizations. But one of the things that I used to really hate is the bureaucracy of like the way management would work, right? So, if you did a piece of work and I work under you, and I mainly drove most of that work, I came up with the ideas, the concepts, and it really changed, or it really benefited the company. See, you may have done that work, but you've got some guy, some manager that comes and just goes, "Oh, no worries, I'm going to present that, and that's my work, and I'm going to be the one that benefits from that. And no one's going to care that this person created it, and I'm just going to take the credit for it." And that's the manager. The manager gets credit for everything. Like, they're the ones. I'm the amazing genius. I'm the creative, element. And this guy could have just been going out on a Friday night drinking beers, and just, you're the one sitting back doing all the work, and you get no credit for it. So one of the things that really interested me in that, and that happens all too often, especially in organizations, it's like, we keep propping up these people in organizations, these managers, like they're the holy grails of these amazing people. That it's like, I've enabled people to do all this, and it's like, no, you really haven't done nothing. You've taken some, and unfortunately, a lot of people in the tech space are introverted. That's not. It's like, it's pretty well known, but there are a lot of people that are extroverted as well. But they sort of just sit back and they allow it to happen. And I always liked the concept of the idea that you could have something like a blockchain, and you could have someone produce the work and actually have it like tailored back to the original creator of that actual content, and it's immutable. It's not like the manager can go, let me just fight around some things. Let me just add my name here and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Because if
totally.
someone actually wanted to know, is this where the talent is coming from versus, is this person just, spreading FUD and taking all the glory from someone else? And that concept, when I was playing around in my mind, would be like, oh wow, you could actually have accountability now in the workplace, and
It's
it's something.
transparency, right? It's
Yeah,
transparency.
exactly. And it's like when you have executives, stealing money, or they're getting these massive bonuses and things like that.
Right.
And you can now measure those bonuses, right?
Yeah.
You're
It's
able
amazing.
to, yeah,
Yeah.
you can follow the trail now. And that's why I
Yeah.
love the concept. And it wasn't even currency that got me into it. Like the currency bit came after, when I wanted to start learning about the technology. So then I just
Dude, you
dived
found
into
yourself studying the concepts of blockchain technology. When did it? So like, eventually you found your way. I don't know, through Twitter. I don't know what. Eventually you found your way to, like. Did you ever buy a project? Or did you start with NFTs? Like.
Yeah, so in 2016, I found my way into just researching a lot about Bitcoin, about that technology. Side chains was a lot of was sort of like the big thing. I started to now find out about altcoins. Ethereum was another one. I started watching YouTube videos. Who was it? Antonius. Like there's a Greek American guy, who's really Bitcoin maxi, and I started watching his videos, and I started watching other people's videos, and it was cool because we've got a blockchain convention center here in Melbourne, in South Bank in the city, and I just moved into an apartment in South Bank, so it was literally around the corner, and they would host like every night, like, well, once or twice a week, they would host like events, and they would have like, they brought in the developers from NEM, to come over, and they were a sponsor of the blockchain center there. And so they'll just have really cool nights explaining about Bitcoin, talking about blockchains, and you just meet other enthusiasts. So it just sort of branched out from there when you start to see the bigger picture of all these different technologies, and all these different chains, and all these different visions of what people are trying to achieve. It wasn't just DeFi, it wasn't just money. It was like, actually doing other network utilities, and creating databases, sort of like what my original concept was, to hold people accountable for these actions. And it was, it didn't have anything to do with currency, but it was just a new way of operating. And I used to link it a lot to, how can we do this better in insurance? You know how certain insurers will, you sort of have to argue a case, like, is this covered or is this not covered? And you've got to, like, put things in writing, and it's like, oh, we've added this endorsement, or this is, they might add it in midway through, or something like that, or there just could be something dodgy on the back end. And everything's very paper based there. But I'm like, well, imagine you had the original, you underwrote the original terms and conditions over the next 12 months of insurance on the actual blockchain, and it could just be immutable. You're able to go back, you're able to see all the changes that were made, any manipulation of the wording or anything like that, because they could just sneak it in. And it does happen. Like we live in a world where humans make mistakes. They don't want to take accountability for it because they feel like they're going to lose their job. So they'll find a way to try and work those things in. And, unless you have access to those databases, you're never going to be able to prove that otherwise. And unless it gets escalated, to higher channels, you might not ever know, right? And you might absolutely give wrong advice. You might take accountability. It could be your professional indemnity at risk. There could be a PI claim towards you as a broker for the information that you've given to your client, like that. So this was all these things that I just used to run around my brain all the time. So yeah, that's why I love it.
You researched it, fell in love with the idea, then you started going to like the convention center and hearing talks and utilities and all of that. well, like keep going down the road.
Yeah. So after that, it was I started dabbling in buying up, getting into Ethereum, buying a lots of NEM, getting into Bitcoin. And then there was the gold rush, is what I call it. That first 2017 gold rush. Everyone, I had family members coming out talking like, "What's this Bitcoin? What is this?" And like, it was great. I was able to really advocate for it, and it was just something that became like a real mad passion. And then Bitcoin spiked to 27,000 Australian, think it was. That was the height of the peak, and then it just started crashing. And then all these people started coming out and just fighting it and just going, no, it's dying off. And admittedly, at that time, I started pulling away from the crypto space. I was still always heavily invested, reading the newsletters and things like that. But I wasn't investing as much because I had a lot of personal things going on at that time. I was moving countries, I was doing this, that. And so I always kept up on it. I always followed it. And I really didn't start entering like going full ham and learning about NFTs until the lockdowns in COVID. So, but NFTs.
So that gap was like, okay, you were buying what was known, because at that point there wasn't really very many more.
Yeah.
So you were buying all the like known chains and coins and when you could, but then you had some lot of stuff going on, and then that brought you up to the lockdown. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. It was just after that, it was just dabbling and just watching videos, researching. It was like just really just staying involved in the whole community and everything like that. But it wasn't. I wasn't going. NFTs wasn't really a thing. It was talked about. Vitalik came out and he released some NFTs and things like that. And he talked about this new concept, but I didn't really wrap my head around it. Actually, I was a mad skeptic of NFTs at the very beginning, and I think most people are. As you start to get into it.
I think that's a good segue to the next question. And so we get to lockdown. What was your journey like coming into the space and to starting an NFT project? Like, I mean, like, how did you get to the place of being there to wanting to have an NFT project out?
So when I jumped back into the crypto space, I was investing. I started buying quite a bit back in at the start of our lockdowns, 2020. I was going in. I was getting Cardano. I was looking at a lot of different projects that were happening out then, and then like the buzz was NFTs. It was in the background. Everyone was talking about these crypto punks, and as soon as you think about NFTs, you jump into like a Gary V video, right? I think everyone just comes across a Gary V video and just going, oh my God, what is this guy on about? Like, what is he talking about? And it's just like, it's gonna change the world, man. I'm like, and he's just like, everyone super pumped up, and it's like, okay, well, let me have a look into these things. And I actually jumped onto OpenSea for the first time, and I actually found this, like, it was actually the art that drew me for anything. And I found a project which had just launched at that time, called Dirty Robot. And it was very anime ambiance-esque style project, but it wasn't a derivative. It wasn't a character PFP style project. It was just beautiful art, really. And I was like, oh man, I would love to own one of these things. And I think at that time they were going for like 0.5 ETH. And like when I saw it, I was like, $2,000. I was like, well, what the I was like who's paying for this crap? And I'm like, this is nothing, right? And this is before I actually dived into knowing the technology. But do you know what happened is, like, this collector's mentality inside me just had me keep
The
going.
Pokemon card collector.
And yeah, so it's it had me kept going back into this into this website, just having a look at the new projects coming up. Bored Apes had already gone pretty wild at that time. I wouldn't even thought twice about buying a Bored Ape. Punks were absolutely insane. I couldn't wrap my head around the prices. That's one thing. And in a lot of ways, I still can't wrap my head around the prices. This was how we'll segue into how I ended up creating the MisFits and how it was. But I ended up using a bit of the Cardano. I was buying some Cardano NFTs. They were like probably my first purchases back in August. I believe it was like August last year. Sorry. Oh, I herniated my back, so it's just a bit painful. So yeah, I ended up buying Cardano Aliens, and it was like this was the very first experience of buying an NFT, and I'm like, this is cool. It's in my wallet. And I click on it, and this picture opens up, and I'm like, this is actually quite awesome. Actually, this is really, really cool. And I'm like, I want more now. And I ended up finding Bungie, which was probably my real first Ethereum project that I ever got into. And this project was made by Brendan Murphy, really well-renowned artist. And, the investor point of me at this point was looking for a project to invest in and say, what projects are out there. And when Bungie came along, the artwork was absolutely sensational. It was really high, well quality done. There's an actual real professional artist behind it. So you can actually own a piece of Brendan Murphy's art for an affordable price. And at that time, affordable price was like 0.2 ETH. But I mean, if you're going to go out and buy real life versions of his art, I mean, you're going to be paying up to $100,000 or $50,000 to own a piece. So this was a way of owning a piece of his art, at a fraction of the price. And I believe the Damien Hirst thing came out at that time, where he released it, and he sort of said, I've got an NFT, and then there's a physical piece, and you've got 12 months to claim. Really, really cool utility. So that's where I really dived into Discord and the NFT community, and just really getting to know the space. Now, the good thing is, when transitioning from crypto, and for anyone that is in crypto that is like skeptical about NFTs, it's a very easy transition. It's not like, oh my God, there's so much to learn.
I can confirm, as someone who just did that.
I mean, the anxiety is still there, but it's a lot easier than you think it is.
Yeah. It's understand what you're trying to really understand. It depends on what metric you're trying to measure that against. Are you measuring it against trying to understand NFTs in the sense that, am I buying this one? Is this going to pump? Am I going to make a lot of money from it in a very short amount of time? So am I going to degen in on that actual project, or am I looking to actually invest in something in the long term? And am I wanting to be a part of a project, part of a community, and watch that flourish and grow? So essentially what we're doing is you're building businesses, and NFTs are like the crowdfunding for those businesses. But instead of just crowdfunding and maybe just getting a product in return, you actually become the real investors of that actual project, and you get to be a part of it. So
let's come back to that. Because I'm really excited. Tell us how you met. How you met Tom, and I don't know how to say the other person the dev on your team. I wanted to. Hadar, talk. How did you meet them? How did you decide on creating a project? Like, how did this all start?
Yeah, so like Tom, this is going to be a very interesting story. If some people have heard it, but let's go back to Bungie. So I was in the Bungie Discord, and mind you, I was grinding. So anyone that knows NFTs knows that there's this grinding culture in order to be able to get a whitelist spot to get an NFT. So I learned that very early on. I was grinding. in that Discord, and I used to think raising up levels would get you a get you a spot on the whitelist. Now, mind you, I was contributing a lot to that Discord, so much so there was like I think it got to about 120,000 people,
Wow.
and I ranked top 20 in the
Wow.
leveling of like that entire Discord. So 120,000 people, I was in the top 20. So that is how much dedication I had to really being a part of this project and absolutely loving it. And so I was in Discord, and generally there's the general chat and you're just typing away. And when you're grinding, especially in Discord, and you're trying to interact with chat, and I'm a person that needs to interact with real conversation. I can't just be like, yeah, we're all gonna make it, man. We're gummy, and yeah, LSG, rocket, 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 rocket. Like that's just not something that I can. That does my head in, to be perfectly honest. It's fun when you do it with your community, but when that is the one comment over and over and over again, it starts to irritate me. So I was in the chat, and this comment comes up. Everyone's asking, oh, where's everyone from? And this person posts a comment that says, oh, I'm Irish, but I live in Singapore. And I'm like, oh, two places. I've lived in Ireland and I've lived in Singapore. So it's like, hey. So I immediately attached onto this comment, and it's like, hey man, I've lived in Ireland and I've lived in Singapore. How's it going, man? And this person goes, not bad. And we just had this conversation going to and fro. And if you haven't guessed it, that person was Tom. So it's exactly how I met Tom, and then we ended up adding each other on just private friends, and we started just private chatting and DMing one another, and we'd be talking about the project. But one of the things we always used to do was just like we used to laugh at this hysteria of like all these fake people in the Discord chat, the grinders, the people that weren't there for the actual community, they weren't there for the project, they were just there for the quick flip. And when you grind as many hours as we were, like, I know that wasn't just the other project, like, we were DJing at the start. When you're doing things like Bungie, we had the IMX apes at that time, the punks, the IMX punks. So IMX was, big thing. Moody Crows, that was huge at that point, and there was so many other projects. Like I can't even remember them now. And we were doing this, but the one thing that like Tom was like the one real authentic person that I found out of a lot of these communities, and there's a few other people as well. But it was like him and I were talking about it, and we used to get really irritated. It was like, you try to have a real conversation with people, and no one converses, no one's having this engagement. It's just like you've just got someone that's sitting behind the scenes, just spamming the Discord, and it's not a metric to see that there's value within that project. And then this is where we started talking about, creating our own project, because we saw these flaws in the way in which things were being created in the NFT space. It was just very degen. It was very a lot of inexperienced people out there rugging like rug pools. Like it's amazing. I don't really hold age as a thing, but also you do need to realize that with age comes experience.
Right.
And giving a 19-year-old, $15 million and think that he's going to do something like amazing because he's put together a really nice website and a roadmap, but he's got no vision or plan behind it. It just didn't make sense to me. I'm like, why are people just aping in and just giving all this money to people, and they end up just rugging, and it's just continuously happening over and over again. So that started to really irritate me, and I was like, let's build a project where we can do things right and we can bring the community in. So I pretty much wanted to create a project where we can actually do it the way in which I wanted NFTs to be, and there weren't any projects doing it at that time. So that's how the
Yeah. So just to where, in case there's new people on the scene, just real brief, it's a non-fungible token. There's this incredible technology underneath in non-fungible tokens, and this is going to be a good example of how it can be applied. But it's also digital art, and so that's why the collections and the flipping and the degen plays like you're talking about happen. And so you met Tom in a Discord that you just were crushing and putting in time to be a part of the community, and you found yourself wanting more from it, and you and Tom together kind of found each other through that and started building something more.
Exactly.
Yeah. And where did I'm so sorry, Tom, I have his name in front of me, but I just don't want to butcher it. Hader.
Yep.
Hader, where did he come on the scene?
So Hader was actually, we were looking, so Tom has a finance background in treasury. He's worked in London, he's worked in Singapore. So we both have financial backgrounds. So when we came up with this concept, I don't know. I'll go back to how the whole MisFits was created, and the story and everything like that. But yeah, when we were putting together this project, we're like, well, how do we find developers? So we didn't know how to find developers, so we ended up using freelance websites. So Upworks was one of them, and we actually found we interviewed a few developers that we got off there. We had one developer who was just shocking in the end. Like, we had to just get rid of him because he wasn't doing the job. And then we ended up meeting Hader. Hader actually was new to the service, but he had a lot of experience, especially in like he'd come from building like DeFi projects and NFT projects. And he came recommended to us. And so we connected with him. But the good thing with him is we managed to build a really good working relationship with him, where like so much so that he's like, hey, can I be a part of your project? I really want to, he wasn't invoicing us. He was just saying, I'll do this, I'll get you up to this point. And so we actually got a really good working relationship with him. And even though he's like, his price just kept going up in terms of how much it was, but he was just really invested with us, really nice guy, and just wanted us to succeed. He was showing our website. We asked him, can we add you on as the developer? We would like to showcase that. And he was like, I'd love to. And I really want to be a part of this project, and I want to see it through and go on. So that's where Hader came from. And he's been with us ever since. Like, he's been pretty much the start.
Incredible, man. So why that's incredible is you and Tom found each other through a different project, and you found something missing in the NFT projects you were in, and that was really the community aspect of DeFi. And DeFi is decentralized finance, and decentralization is a concept in DeFi, which we'll talk about in just a second. But you found each other. You're like, let's do something better. Let's just do something that like really is a better expression of this tech. Then you find somebody that, like, after kind of going through some rough experiences, you find somebody that just connected and was like, yes, this is worth it. And they put in their time and energy, didn't even invoice you. And now you have this kind of triad of a core team that's ready to take on something to bring something unique and special to the space.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing you say.
Yep. So that's essentially how the whole team came together. And it's amazing because like the relationships, the experiences that you actually build with these people it's like, I've spoken to Tom every single day for the last 7 months. And the relationship that I've been able to create with him, I've actually met Tom now in real life. I flew over to Singapore. Tom and I went and we hung out every day. We had meetings and stuff like that. But it was like, it went from being this guy that you're chatting to on Discord to being like, this is like, this is like someone that you felt like you've known for like the last 10 years, because the amount of conversation I've had with him is more than I've had with any of my mates or anything like that. We are constantly on call, we're chatting all the time, and it's just like,
totally.
yeah, it's amazing. And like the one thing is that this Web3 space and this community has brought that made that possible, right? And that's what what makes it possible with our community members as well. So
yeah, Morgan, did you want to break in? I think you're trying to break in, and I just steamrolled over you.
Oh, it's fine. I do have a fan running in the background, so it looks like I'm trying to talk. But two things. We are getting ready for a second giveaway. So if you haven't already submitted a hashtag, this is a giveaway for a MisFit NFT, the first edition of their mint. And they're gonna have a lot of unique characters, so don't miss out on this one. So Enhance X and MisFit NFTs is what you got to put in to enter the competition. But a little bit on the MisFits. How did you guys come up with the concept of doing it with a DAO? And what is a DAO?
So decentralized autonomous organization is what that actually stands for. But how we actually came up with this concept is there's two things that I used to find with NFT projects that just really used to sort of irritate me. One, it was the derivative, and there was like, hey, you're getting this art piece, it's this picture, and you're like, cool, all right, okay, what next? All right, well, we're going to have an IRL party. Oh, that doesn't do me any good. I'm in Australia, you're in California, you're in Miami. I mean, that's a very long trip. We're in lockdowns. It's not going to benefit me. Oh, what are these other things on your roadmap that you're going to do? We're going to build a AAA title game. Wow, you've raised $2 million. I don't think you have experience or understanding in how much money it takes to build a AAA title game and how long it's actually going to take. Oh, we want to deliver that by, the third quarter of 2022. And it's like, wow, you're literally raising funds in October, November, and you're going to build a AAA title game in 6-7 months. I'm glad that you were so ambitious and you have no understanding about how things are done, but people will still invest in that. And that's sort of one of the things is like, after 2 weeks of the project being launched, after a week of the project being launched, people would just literally FUD it. Oh, they're not doing anything. They're not, like, there was no engagement, right? The community would sort of just disband, and then you'd get new people buying into the project going, when are all these things coming? And that they weren't loyal to the project, or they weren't fans of the actual project itself. So can you guys see me?
Yep, we can.
Okay. Hello?
You're cutting out a little bit now, though.
Yeah, my computer's just turned off. Hold on a sec.
We can still hear you though.
Can you see me?
No.
Well, we do. Well, he gets that settled. Do we have a giveaway ready, John?
Yeah, let's call it here and say that the poll is closed. So not poll, the entry is closed. Well, this was supposed to be Ninja's name.
And then, guys, if you aren't already subscribed to Enhanced Media YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe. That way you can get a notification for our next live stream. This is our first giveaway live. I'm sure we'll be having some in the future, though. Don't want to miss out on those.
And to add on that, Morgan, while we're waiting for Alex to come back, looks like he's just now getting back. But a like does go a long way. So, if you are enjoying this, I would really love it. It would mean a lot to me if you could give that little like button a smash. Because we really want to get this out there.
Guys, everyone, if you're in here, you're watching it, it's a 2-second thing. Click that like button. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's get this segment needs to grow. I think it'll be amazing. And then as you start to bring more people on, it's just going to be like So
All right.
useful. Like this content really does benefit people because you actually get to see the people behind the project. If you are actually out there wanting to meet creators, meet developers, see real life conversations with them, this is what instills that confidence into people into wanting to invest their money in certain projects and things like that. And you can ask questions. So absolutely,
Man, a
what
lot.
you do here is
Like,
amazing.
we got to get onto the misfits here because we don't want to abuse the time, but like that's the mission of this whole show. Like that's
Yeah.
exactly what we're trying to do, Alex. Thank you for saying that. It means a ton to me to hear someone else say it. Because like I got John on board, I got Morgan on board, and we're trying to push this thing out. And so like, amen. That's exactly what we want this thing to be.
Absolutely.
But so the Misfit NFT collection, you and Tom were discussing, and you were trying to figure out how to make it the best project, and you were leading up to how you decided to come it down.
So, yeah, for us, when I was going into all these other projects, it was always these promises, and they just like they weren't realistic in that sense. So I was like, okay, well, what can we do? How can we actually make it like different for our community? How do we keep people engaged? And that's sort of where the concept of the DAO came in. I should also state, like, the concept of the actual misfits is in lockdowns, I picked up a lot of creative writing. I was doing courses online, and this was something that I've always done. Like, as a kid, I used to type up stories and everything like that. So it was like something that was just like a side hobby, like a real passion of mine. And yeah, I started it up again in the lockdown, which is where the whole story of Misfits came from. There was no NFT that existed. The story did not exist with the NFT. So it was like I had this story, and then it was like, oh, let's create a project. What are we going to do? And then it was like, hey, I've got this story. How about we make this story and we send it around the characters of the actual story itself, which is how, instead of just trying to think up a concept, we already had the concept. Well, I already had the concept, and it was about how do we put NFTs into that concept, which is exactly how the Misfits project was born. So did you want to
well, I wanted to hear. So just real quick, let's just set the room a little bit. The Misfits NFT collection, 4,000, right?
4,000 piece collection. Yep.
4,000 piece collection. Misfits.co. You can mint there. It's a DAO. It's a DAO project. How did you like? Why did you guys go that route? What is it, and why is it really important?
Yeah, so the reason why we went that route is because I wanted to, when I created the story, I wanted to say, how do we get people engaged and interacted after the actual project is minted? Why do we want people to actually hold this NFT? Because a lot of people are here for the degen flips and things like that, but we wanted to create a new experience which wanted people to actually hold on to them. So I was always into, DeFi and things like that. We're always just sort of in that mode of like decentralized finance and DAOs and communities. And one of the things, it was like probably admittedly, it was probably a Gary Vee video where he's talking about how you can actually, it now allows the artist to be able to go direct to the consumer, go directly to their fans. And being a massive fan of anime and manga, I said, well, how cool would it be to be able to introduce a DAO within this actual project itself and actually give the community members the opportunity to be able to shape and guide the way in which the story goes, as in a choose your own adventure story. Because as a kid, I used to love reading choose your own adventure. Right?
Remember the Goosebumps ones where you could like,
you had to turn to a certain page and you'll be like, oh, wow. And then it's like, go left or go right. And I said, how cool would it be to be able to introduce that into an NFT project and actually have people come in and be able to shape and direct the direction of the actual story itself? So
it's a beautiful concept, Alex. It's a beautiful concept. It really is, because you have this you have this story that you guys have started to these backstories of these different characters, and I'm going to let you talk about that a little bit more here right now. But you wanted to create a different thing with this project, you and Tom, dreaming up what it could be. And real quick, I just have to shout it out. It looks like my guy won the second NFT. His name is True Sauce, and he's actually I grabbed him and Ninja in a group chat. Like, all right, guys, I know nothing about anime. Teach me your ways. Tell me where to go. Tell me where to look. And it was both of them together that helped kind of navigate my first watch with Akira. And he's in the chat right now, and he won. So just super congrats to True Sauce. He's someone I've gotten to know very well over the last several months, and love the man dearly. Thank you for tuning in, brother.
But congratulations.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know True Sauce. He'll DM me. We'll get him situated. Yeah. But it's an incredible concept, because you guys were setting out to do something different, not just have a bunch of people that flip. And something you say a lot in Spaces is, and I'm leading you a little bit, just so you know, we're going somewhere specific with this.
Yeah.
I've heard you in Spaces say, hey, I don't want to mint out on the first day. I don't want to just have a million people come in here, mint the thing out, and just start flipping them like crazy. I want to build a community that is invested in the story, because you guys are building a story that the NFTs are attached to, that we get to help navigate. Yeah. And that's just so fascinating. And I want to ask a question there. I'm just going to go back to my notes here. Well, before I do, just give us the download. Tell us about go off MisFits NFT project. Go.
Yeah, so we have created an NFT project centered around 5 different characters. So that was another thing that we wanted to create in an NFT project. So a lot of what we always found with derivatives and everything like that is you've got a bored ape. It's just one ape, and it's just one ape where it's probably cycled around all different types of traits and mouthpieces and things like that. Then you've got a little space fluffy clown or whatever you want. You've got a cool cat, you've got a doodle, but they're all, the premise of these images are always the same character. And I said, you know, I like it. I like variety as well, but also I said, well, these characters, they have no personalities. There's nothing to them. They're just there. Like that's what they are, unless the creators create a personality for them. So it was really important when we created the MisFits, and I'm like, okay, each one of these characters need to have a name, and they need to have a personality as well. Like that's why the story was such an important piece to basing the NFTs around these characters in this story. So we came up with concepts, and admittedly we probably went what was going to attract as well. We wanted a few animal pieces, and then we wanted 3 humans as well, which is how we managed to create the 5 characters that we've got, which is Trip, Izzy, Dex, Baz, and Trixie. And what did I say, Trixie or Izzy? Sorry. And sorry, there's 5 different characters, and with all those characters, we managed to work in. I've worked in the backstories of all these characters. So where I needed to start is, okay, we've got the setting. I had the setting. I had everything. I had even the story. So how do we put these characters into that actual story as well? So then that required each individual character of writing backstory for them. So that's character development. So I went through, I took Trip, which was the main protagonist, and I wrote all backstory for him. Yeah, and we got, you know, we got Team Trip out there, we got Team Trixie out there, and all those different characters. And I sat down and wrote backstory for every single one of them. So in a way that there is a history to them in this world, in a way that they, in a way of how they actually came to be in this world, how they actually came to be in the lowest district of Arcadia, which is, people will find out when they enter in, to really start discovering the story of what Arcadia is. And it was really important that we had those backstories in place before we even sort of started launching this project. And I still remember the very first space I went into to talk about this, and it was a needless space on Twitter Spaces. And yeah, it was like, yeah, shout out to the Needless fam. And it was, I knew that we were on the right path because these guys got really excited by the project. Like they were like super pumped when they heard about it, when they saw it, and they were just, the enthusiasm showed. And then the moment I knew that we really, I done what I set out to do by capturing personalities and characters that people could actually attach to, is when people started forming little teams within the MisFits. Like, you know, you got people that are on Team Dex, you got people that are on Team Trip, Team Trixie, and all the different characters. And then people are starting to have banter with one another between it. And like, I was like, this is it. Like, I have succeeded in what it is that we wanted to do and what it is that we wanted to create. I managed to incorporate, obviously, the love for anime and manga for me was the way, like I said, the art direction needs to go in that direction. So
let's go there. Yeah, let's go there, Alex. Because I want to wind down and get some time for community questions. But I want to set this up a little bit, because DeFi, decentralized finance, has this core concept of decentralization. So you guys have come along, you've created these 5 characters that are going to be the main characters in a world called Arcadia, that are going to go through and tell this story, and you have decentralized the story by creating a 4,000 piece NFT collection that all the holders will be able to have input and actually decide as a community the direction of it.
Yeah.
Now, why do you think? And there's more to it too, right? Like, and I know you guys have kind of teased it, but we got crank tokens in Arcadia, but also as a token native to this project that you'll actually kind of earn by holding them, and all kind of merch and all kinds of fun things that you're planning. But MisFits NFT.co is the website. But why is this so important to you? Like, I think DeFi is important. I think decentralization is important. But why is this concept so important to you? Like, what's the motive we have here?
It's really like, it plays on the childhood dream that, you know, there's this, once you start to discover the world of anime, you know, it's very, you know, it comes from Japan, but then all of a sudden this cultural phenomenon has spread across the globe, and actually it's probably consumed more outside of Japan than it is inside Japan now. It's gotten to the point, I always reference this thing about manga, which is, in Japan there is more manga printed than there is toilet paper. And that's a fact. So it is crazy. Like, it is that big of a industry, and it is absolutely captivating people around the world. And being someone that is so touched by that actual manga and anime itself, I wanted to be able to create something, but you know, it was something that you were never able to create. Like, it was just such an impossible feat. Like, how am I ever going to go to Japan, don't speak Japanese, and just go, hey guys, I want to make an anime, I want to make a manga, and they're just going to look at this guy. It's like, there's this Western guy here trying to, you know, bloody get into our culture and create something. And the coolest thing is what it started to spur when anime became a big thing globally, is people started making their own fan comics, fan art, and all these different things. And people just started really getting in with that actual culture. And for me, it was like, it's always been a dream to be able to create, like, be a part of the creation process of creating my own manga. That's how this story came unfolded, because I'm like, why don't I create this whole manga with a whole community of people, and we can all share in this experience, which was something that was near impossible 10 years ago. If someone said to you, let's go create our own manga, you just couldn't do it. You wouldn't even be able to get the people together to be able to do it. Yeah, sure, you could probably tell a story, but you'd need to get an artist, and it would be centralized in some type of way. But with the beauty of NFTs, I just came up, like the concept was there to say, wow, like we can actually do this, create our own manga. And just for the record, we are actually doing it. We've already created like the first 4 pages. Like
They're
it's
out.
in existence.
Yeah.
It's out. The product has already started, and that was something to show you, like, hey, here I am. I'm a guy that did come from the insurance world. I have an understanding of business. I have an understanding of risk and building things. And I've managed to do all this, with Tom, with the guy from the internet, become mates with him, and then join a whole community of people together to start actually creating this. And it's like we've gone out and asked the questions and we found the answers. And that's one thing that I always do. If you don't know the answer to something, go out and find the answer to it. Would I have thought it 2 years ago possible to go out and find comic book studios, creative writers, developers, and all these different people to be able to join together to be able to create this project? No, like it's just something that I didn't ask the questions to. But when I started doing it, I was able to, leverage network skills that I've had, through decades of sales, and connect people, put people together, and actually create what it is known as the MisFits. And that's how we've been able to get to where we are. And we're not unrealistic in the expectation. I'm not trying to promise the world. We are doing everything within a safety net bubble. Like, take that risk element that I have from insurance, is like, don't overpromise. I would rather, what's the line? Overpromise, underdeliver. No, underdeliver, overpromise. Whatever it is. I can't think of it now. So it's, for me, I would rather, be able to do something that's within the means of actually doing. And it's not, these aren't unrealistic expectations. So that's why, if we start small, we can create a brand behind these characters, behind these MisFits. We can create longevity, because we can tell shonen manga it could go on for 10 years, it can go on for 5 years, it could go on for 4 years. It doesn't matter. There is, like, it just keeps going until, maybe we work on something else, or maybe we pivot and go in another direction.
A new story. Who knows? One day at a time, right? But
exactly.
There's this really important concept, though. Like, the space has to continue to evolve in order for it to be mass adopted, right?
Absolutely.
Like, the average person that exists in the world isn't going to go degen into a project that's minting out quickly to try to flip, right? Like, there has to be a reason to do it. And you have brought this really cool concept of a story that's driven by the community into the NFT space and coupled it together. And that's such a really beautiful application of the tech. It really is. And I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. As a holder, like, I wanted to make sure I held more than a few, because I don't know how I'm going to weight that, right? Like, I mean, so for me, there was like I can't let just own one of these things, right? Like, but at the same time, like, there is this, like, use case that you guys have developed, like, and congratulations, because the artwork, the website, it's beautiful. The pages that are out, incredible.
Thank you.
And I think when you, so I'm part of Enhance, right? And Enhance is a really cool project. What they've done is they've given a chunk of their community an NDA and brought them in, and it's almost like, without an NFT, a bit of a DAO through community driven through NDA, right? And what can happen when a few of us get together and start talking and start processing and working together is innovation, right? The magic, it happens when everybody can get it. And that's what I see with MisFits. That's what I see happening. But you also get a piece of the ownership and of an NFT, right? And I think it's really brilliant. And so I just want to say congratulations. You started minting a couple days ago. Morgan, I'll let you ask the last question. Before you do, so I'll give you the mic quick, and then we'll go to Alex. And I want you to just tell people how to mint, where to go to look info, all that.
Awesome. Well, I will say that so far Baz is my favorite character. Um,
Oh, King will be absolutely pumped to hear that from you. Absolutely.
yeah, it's going to be really fun to see where his storyline goes along the way. But my question for you, Alex, is which do you think is more popular, manga or spicy fried chicken?
Ooh.
God, no.
Who's asked that question? That's got to be a whiskey question, I think. Or it's got to be a Yoshi question.
I was there in the space the other day, so I heard the
Yeah,
backstory.
yeah. So I'm gonna have to say I do like fried chicken. I really do. But I'm gonna have to go manga. I'm going manga on that one. Manga is way more popular.
I'd say that's a safe bet. Safe bet. No,
Yeah.
no more questions from me. I am definitely excited for the project. It's a fun community, and it's gonna go to a lot of different communities. It's
Yeah.
it's very unique. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like it's for us, that's what we wanted to create. And I think we're doing it. We're doing it in a very, controlled manner in the way it was. We did release 3-4 days ago now. And for us, it's been an amazing experience. Like even during this bear market, like one thing that you need to really consider, and actually Gary Vee touched on this, which is something I've been touching on for weeks now. And I heard him say it in a video the other day. It was like the NFT projects that are now building now in this space, like in the bear market, are the ones that are going to be here, like
Oh
for the
yeah.
tomorrows. Because I mean, it takes a lot of dedication to be able to build when like a lot of liquidity has gone out of the market and there's a lot of uncertainty, especially around the whole crypto space. We're not blind; we can see what's happening, but that is just like any ups and downs. And we've seen this, and anyone that's lived through these different experience like these different times in crypto, that this is just one of those things, and then bang, it goes up again. So if you're here building now, you're going to be valuable in terms of when everyone starts flooding back into the space. They're going to say, wow, these guys have been building for the last 12 months, or they've been building for this amount of time. Why am I going to invest in newer projects when this project is already so well established, have a community, building a product? And that's where the value is going to come. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm just gonna pull up my DMs because Whiskey asked me a question. A member of the Misfit community who's watching today. Shout out to Whiskey.
shout out to Whiskey.
Just gonna pull up her DM really quick because it was a really good question. I'm just gonna read it to you. What was the thought process behind the characters, and how were they named and given such relatable personalities? Beautiful question because they're great. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me still?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, my screen's just gone. It's gone. You've lost your connection. Trying to reconnect, but that's all right. As long as you can see me and hear me, that should be all right. Sorry, can you just repeat that question? Because
Yeah.
I've just got this error on my screen.
Yeah. No problem.
Distracted.
She asked, what was the thought process behind the characters, and how were they named and given such relatable personalities? It's a loaded question. You can keep it short.
Yeah. So that's it. That is.
Oh, I think we're losing him now. Darn it.
Oh, I know I had a
Dang
good
it.
question for him too.
Well, we'll give that a minute. Definitely wanted to say thanks for everybody coming to the live chat and participating,
Yeah.
getting a chance to do a giveaway. Usually this is on a Sunday, so thanks for shifting to a Saturday for this week. And if you have any questions for the interview, you can drop those in the chat.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I do want to just say thank you as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm really, really excited about where this show is going. I'm really excited about the guests. We have a lineup, guys. there's a real lineup, I guess, over the next month, and so and I couldn't, from the bottom of my heart, you know, it's possible Alex won't come back, and so just to kind of prep, and we'll just see where it goes. But Morgan, let's just talk about initial reactions to Alex as a guest. What was your takeaways that you got from him?
I mean, he's been in the scene for a while, so I can definitely tell this is a genuine project, and he's been through the ringer. He wants to do community right, and he's done that in a fairly short amount of time, I'd say, even though it's not just the beginning for the MisFits concept. They've been building hard and doing it organically, so just the genuineness of everybody involved is really my biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
What did you get most out of that?
You know, it's what attracted me to the project, because, like, admittedly, like, Alex is one of my first guys I messaged trying to recruit guests for the show. It really is just this concept of community. It's to me the next evolution of NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all remember when the punks came out back in the day, and they were selling for stupid amounts of money for these like 18-bit pixelated images, and I never got it then. But they are doing something, and I'm not here to flood fear, uncertainty, or doubt those kinds of projects, because I think there's a place for them. It was first iteration, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, this project is building a community of people to tell a story. And I'm a sci-fi and fantasy geek and nerd, right? Like, that's where my childhood was spent. And the story thing really, really interests me. And the fact that we get to see a story unfold together, I don't know, like, I was like, I'm not missing out on a chance to be able to have input. Like, that sounds so exciting, and to do it with a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things about me is I'm an includer. Like, in the Strength Finders, it's a great book. I highly recommend it. It kind of gives you a breakdown of your strengths. And one of those things is an includer. I like to bring people together to do things, because I think we're way better when we do it together, right? And I don't know, I'm repeating myself now, but because it's such a great concept, John in the background was like, yeah, you are. I love it. But I'm just so excited about the community thing with this project, because it's so important. And yeah, I mean, so just to do it for Alex. Oh, go ahead, Morgan. What were you gonna say?
Oh no, that's the wind in the background. But yeah, no, the community is one that stands out. They're on Twitter Spaces all the time, whether it be in the Needless crew or their own Misfit NFT Twitter. Oh, there we go, perfect timing. But they're out there. They're answering questions. They're being a part of the community, as well as maintaining and growing it, which is something special, you know?
Yeah. Alex, can you hear us?
You are on mute, Alex.
Give him a chance.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. Welcome
Yeah,
back.
awesome. Okay, awesome. Sorry guys, I've had to jump in on my phone. I'm not sure I'm not sure
That's
if that
okay.
was my end, but
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Let me have a look. I'm trying to get the video working. I can't get that. I got to jump into settings. I hope that's all right if I can stay like that.
Okay. Let me just rapid fire a couple questions so we can kind of wrap up this the show here, because we want to try to be done here pretty shortly.
Yep.
But one of the questions I saw in the chat was from Ninja, just wanting to hear a little bit about redistribution of revenue, conventions and events, things like that with the project. And then after that question, if you could just give us to give the floor to you, tell people where to go to mint, what to do, how to become a misfit themselves.
Absolutely. So for us, it's again creating this DAO project and having people on board and having people that are misfit holders of the NFTs. One of the things is that we will be redistributing revenue. Obviously, that's what a DAO, that's what DeFi is about, right? You're investing into the product itself. So the amazing thing about the misfits is a lot of projects are trying to find ways in order to, garner revenue through NFTs and NFT sales and create something like a game or play to earn mechanics. But the thing is we're tackling the manga industry, so we're creating a comic book, and the greatest thing is you can create fandom behind that comic book. So if we can actually we get the comic book out, we get chapters coming out, and we charge, say, $1.50 a chapter. We can get people and it's not a lot of money. When you think maybe once a month paying $1.50, if someone can afford it, it's like paying for an iTunes song. So it would be like people can start purchasing these chapters and being able to see where the story progresses. But the thing is, we don't need an NFT community to be able to help grow that product, because the amazing thing is that we're targeting the manga and anime industry, which is $1 billion industry. People might not want to jump into Web3 or get into the DeFi space or jump into NFTs. But the thing is, they're going to actually have a product behind it that they can say, oh, you know what? I don't want to know about these things, but I really love the story. So I'm going to follow what these guys are doing as a story and a world first co-created manga with an NFT community. And we will be able to take the funds that we earn from selling the comic book, getting that online, and redistribute that back to our holders as well. So you will have a 40% redistribution of any of the profits that we make from the actual manga itself. One of the things that we will target is getting around to conventions and anime conventions around the globe. There are some massive ones, especially in France, in the UK, and in the US as well. We will all and the greatest thing is we want to get the first few chapters out for free. So we want to, the main thing for us is to get people engaged and hooked into the story. Our story is super solid. It's being created super comprehensively prior to the project, and as the project has gone, it's just gotten even more expansive. So it's not like something we're trying to tell our community members, hey, we're going to create a story or a manga or something like that. We're already doing it. We're already in that in the zone of actually delivering on that. So that instills confidence into the people that are purchasing. And if you're a fan of the industry like manga and anime, this to me is the project that I would have built. Like, this is why I've created it, because it's the project that I wanted to find as an anime manga fan. So and for us it was super important that we didn't we didn't charge astronomical fees to buy into this project. We want anyone out there to be able to get an affordable price. I think it's where ETH is at the moment.
Yeah, tell us about that price.
Yep. So the price is 0.035 ETH that we're charging for the first 1,500 mints. And then the price will go up after that. So it's for us, the price point was just meant to be an entry point into this. It was never trying to make millions. We've done the numbers. We know how much it costs because we're actually creating the manga now. We've already got the developer on board. We've already started paying those costs, so we can actually put together a business plan, future projections of how much it's going to actually take to execute it, and not to rely on the NFT money as the main source of revenue. The main source of revenue is going to come from the product itself. That's why we're creating something as a product which can be sold. And I mean, if you get 10,000 fans and you're charging, say, $1.50, that's $15,000 a month for each chapter. And as
Yeah.
it grows, more people hear about it, more people are going to want to jump on board, and you can grow the fandom. Like when you're talking about, just to give it context, like Demon Slayer, which is one of the most popular, was selling like something in the upwards of like over 10 million copies every month. And that was a volume. So you can imagine, like, they're pulling in sales of like over $100 million a month for a manga, right? And like, you've really just got to look. We only just need it. We're going for a fraction of that. And the goal is to grow the story with the community. And then one day, hopefully, you'll be able to turn on Netflix or your TV one day, and we can get it turned into an animation, because once there is enough fandom, you're able to sell those animation rights to studios, because it's like, hey, we got a community. Look how many people are downloading this comic. People will take notice. People will start to, hey, can we buy that story? We want to animate it. And can you imagine being from the very beginning of the NFT project, and you sitting there watching it on TV going, I was a part of this whole thing. I helped
Yeah.
create it. I helped shape the story. I helped navigate it. Like that story, that character I'm so connected to. And like that is DeFi.
More than
That
that.
is
More than that. Can you imagine what that does for the fandom of the series, which goes and creates even more revenue? I mean, this is a long-term thing here, but
Yep.
I mean, it's a big deal. It's a whole picture. And it's 0.035 ETH right now. And there's still
Yep.
there's a little under 1,000 to grab for that.
Yep.
And a 0.035 right now, that's like what, 60, $70?
Yep. Literally,
I
when
mean,
NFTs were costing my Bungie costed 950 USD. So let's put that into just a little bit of context. Like some of the prices that people are paying, I think it's already overinflated in terms of prices that people charge for their NFT with little to no value, or no vision or no plan. That was another thing of why this was created from us, because it was always our intention to keep this at a very affordable price. So I believe we've managed to succeed in doing that, and we've managed to deliver some of the most amazing artwork, I think, anime wise, that's out there. Like the amount of traits that we have is, supersedes 10,000K collections, 3 times over. Like it's
yeah, and I'm gonna
crazy.
get the Izzy with the fish hair and never
Yep.
give it out of principle. But Alex, man, listen, there's so much more to go into. And John does want to break in just for a minute, so as we wrap up. But I just want to say thank you again, man. Go ahead, John.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. And it's been an absolute pleasure. And I love what you're doing here with these spaces. I love what it is that you're creating, giving a new insight to projects, giving them a voice, meeting the founders. We're a fully docs team. Like we're not trying to shy away or hide away. So many projects out there you need to do your due diligence with, but that's why we always came out as a docs team to instill the confidence that our conviction is strong and what it is that we're trying to deliver.
Absolutely, man. Go ahead, John. I'm gonna let you wrap it. Yep.
Yeah, so we just got a couple questions from the chat here. Crypto Goldfish was wondering, how is the DAO going to work? As in voting power on things is per NFT or per holder?
So it will be via NFT. Actually, so we know that there are people that hold large amounts. So that is something that we could toy around with, and that's something that we could actually talk to the community with, to actually say, if you hold one NFT, that entitles you to one vote. Maybe if you hold, say for instance, up to 20 NFTs, that entitles you to one vote. So every 20 NFTs entitles you to one vote. That way, so we don't get manipulation of the actual story. That's something that we'll be able to better engage as the tokens start to sell. So that's something that we haven't cemented yet as such. So we want to get a better understanding at the actual the numbers when we've sold out, and the sellout is a slow process. We don't want overnight sellouts. That really just creates that degen mentality and that vibe, not something that we're trying to create with our actual project. And how the DAO will work, we're going to create a separate members section that we want people to be able to connect their NFTs to. Put the votes in as they come. You'll know ahead of time the story and direction. For the very first volume, we're controlling, so we can actually plant and cement the story itself. And then after the first volume is when the community will start to shape and navigate the actual story. So we want to lay down the foundation of the story for the community and then have them navigate it, because there needs to be some type of story in place. Otherwise, it will be anarchy, and everyone will have so many different ideas and trajectories of which way the story should actually go. So that's why there will be that element of control for the very beginning, and then we release it out to the community.
Awesome. John, what you just say, a couple of them?
Yeah, 2 more questions. Drill, he may have already answered this, but if you can ask if they have already got that office in Singapore.
Yep. So no, we haven't got the office yet in Singapore. So that'll be something that we absolutely end up doing when we sell out. So that's, at the end of the day, we're looking at this as like any type of business. Creating a business, we need to actually raise the capital, the funds in order to be able to do this. We've got the business registered in Singapore. We don't have the office as such yet. That office, like, we need to look at a few different factors. Do we want to spend money on office space in Singapore? Is actually very expensive. So one option that we would have doing is a co-working space and offices, which work very well. I've worked out of co-working spaces. Previously, I've got a lot of friends that have worked and built businesses out of co-working spaces. So that's probably essentially where we would start at the very beginning. And then we would work our way up. But the beauty of this industry in the Web3 space is you don't actually need to have an office. Like, as long as you've got a computer, you've got a place to work, you can absolutely deliver anything. And we've managed to deliver this, from our houses, from working in co-working spaces. I jump into co-working spaces from time to time. So that's the beauty of DeFi. That's the beauty of Web3, right?
Wonderful. And the last question is from Truth Sauce. He's asked this question, I think, like 3 times, 4 times now. As Alex tried wrapping his brain around, I'm going to butcher this name, Lane, L-A-I-N-E, Lane, Lane, right? That's from your NFTs, right? Or not the MisFits, correct?
I think, is that Akira? Is that a character?
Alex tried wrapping his brain around Lane. I have no idea where that's coming from, but that was the question.
Is it is he talking about serial experiments, Lane? Like, that's what comes to mind. That's an anime. And if he is, like, that absolutely is warped. If he is,
it's an anime. Yes, yeah.
It is. Yes. He's talking about serial experiments, Lane. Yes, I have watched it. Actually, mind you, that was one of the very, very first animes that I bought on DVD. So that is going way back. And mind you, when I watched that anime, I would have been 15. So I actually need to go back and revisit it. But let me tell you, I understood nothing. I understood nothing. I just knew it was beautiful, and actually, it had one of the best theme songs of an anime that I can remember. I absolutely love the theme song to it. So, but yeah, thank you for bringing that up because I will definitely go back and revisit that one.
My question for you before we end the
Yep.
the stream is, okay, you're talking about a lot of anime. You've talked
Yep.
about manga, but you haven't touched on what manga you read and or what is your favorite. What
Oh,
manga would you recommend?
so
I
this
do
is
nothing but read manga. It actually bothers my wife a lot. So,
yeah. I'm actually going to say, and this came up recently, and it's one of the most recent ones that I've actually read, and I actually said to the community, I think I etched this above Dragon Ball Z for me, and that's a massive statement, right? That's huge, but it's Demon Slayer, man. Demon Slayer, the manga was absolutely incredible. Like it was just, I absolutely
I
adored the
got
story of
bored.
it. Huh?
I
Did
got
you
bored reading it. Yeah.
really?
Yeah, my
Oh
wife loves
man,
the anime. It is beautiful, beautiful
yeah,
anime. Don't get me wrong, but I got really bored of it. Every time I read it, I'd see like Naruto.
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. In some elements, what I loved about it was it's just so brutal and straight to the point. Like it was absolutely, it didn't waste time, sort of getting into it. But yeah, that's honestly that's one of my actually this is interesting because not many people might have actually read this one, and it's probably like on the little etchy side if you know that term in anime, but Air Gear is one of the coolest mangas because
John's
the
doing just
actual
the
the
camera.
anime, yeah, the anime was absolutely like it was fun. It was just stupid, but the manga is like full, like that's proper. Like that is an awesome. If you like rollerblading, this goes back to my '90s childhood. If you like rollerblading, skating, and things like that, Air Gear is a really cool manga to really read and get into, and it's lighthearted. It's easy to break into, but yeah, look, there are absolutely so many. Full Metal Alchemist, just there you go. There is a proper manga if you want to read something that'll blow minds.
Yeah.
It's
my recommendation for the crowd is Tokyo Revengers, the manga.
Oh, yes, another absolute great one. Although there's one thing about the character, and this is what Japanese do a lot in terms of character development, is why does he cry all the time? Just come on, man. Come
He's in
on.
tune with his feelings, and that's not okay
Oh
in
my
Japan.
goodness.
Not just I'm just
Yeah,
Well,
saying.
guys,
yeah.
just to break in here a little bit. It's like drinking from a fire hose. This whole genre, because they've been breaking me in and getting me all these different shows and mangas. And shout out to Alex and True Sauce and Ninja and the Nevis community because they've been just great. But Alex, man, listen, I would love to talk to you all night. I will sleep on the couch if I go any longer
Yeah.
on the show today. And my kids are about before they go to bed want to finish a really great series. We've been reading Lemony Snicket's A Series of Misfortunate Events, and we've been watching the show as we read the books. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah, they really want to watch it before we go to bed. But man, sincerely, thank you for coming on. It's been a privilege to have you. I'm a massive fan of your project, obviously, and just appreciate your time. You're in the community a ton. You and Tom both. You guys work very hard. But thanks for making some time for us today.
Absolutely, and thank you very much for having me, and thank you for this. I'd love to come back on and just talk DeFi, and it doesn't have to be the NFT project, but yeah, this has absolutely been an amazing experience. And again, I want to say thank you to the entire Misfit community, and to anyone new that wants to join the project. Just give us a follow. We are currently minting now, so yeah, check us out. The Misfits NFT at the Misfits NFT on Twitter. So And you can also go and mint now, which is misfitsnft.co. So, yeah,
Take a look at
thank
that
you,
artwork.
everyone. And thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Alex. Well, I hope you have a great night, a great day, your Sunday.
Yep.
I got a lot of work to do before my Sunday starts.
Yep.
But man, thank you so much. On behalf of Breaking the Ice and DeFi, brought to you by Enhanced Media. Thank you, audience, for tuning in. So thankful for you guys. Even people that come in later that didn't tune into live. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. We have a ton more of these videos coming out weekly. Got some incredible guests lined up. We've already had a great time. If you haven't watched the interviews with the CEO and COO of Glow Token, or part 1 of Chase Coleman, the CEO of Enhance's interview, you don't want to miss out on those. Those were incredible interviews. Thank you from the bottom of our heart. Morgan, any last words before we sign out here?
No, again, thank you guys. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, viewers. It was a great show, and I'm eager to go buy some ETH so I can mint a few more of these.
I can't wait for part 2.
Thank you so much, Morgan.
Go ahead,
Thanks,
sorry,
guys. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Well, you have a good one, Alex.
Yeah.
Have a great day. We're going to end the stream here. Come back next week. We have another show planned. Announcements coming soon.
Awesome. Will do. Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no, I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, find almost anything. All it takes is some time and some clarity to find your identity. It's mind over everything. And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. 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 Don't be scared. Just level up. Don't be I'm so gone, no, I'm never turning back. I won't stop, I'ma fight until there's nothing left. It's so on, you're gonna be hurting bad, cause I've been to hell and back. You don't wanna make me mad, I stay strong, you will never see me crack. And if you get in my way, you're gonna feel the wrath. Gotta say it to my face while he's looking back.